Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm here to help you reach your potential as a leader and a human being. Welcome to Remarkable TV. Today we're talking about garden weeds and what we can learn from them. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, after a 1-week hiatus, we're back with more challenges that you've made to me to mash up items with leadership lessons. And so thanks, I guess, to Angela Hummel for this one where she says, Kevin, how is leadership like a garden weed? And for that, Angela, we're going to send you a copy of our journal. So I have a lot of experience with weeds in my life. As a little kid, I was responsible for weeding in our garden. And then as a grown-up, more of a grown-up, as a teenager and beyond, I worked on our farm where weeds took on a very different sort of focus, and there were lots of them that we were trying to get rid of so that we could grow the crops that we wanted. Here's the thing about now I'm weeding them out of my flower beds, including this one right here, here at Remarkable House today. Now, here's what we know about weeds. They make things look uglier, and they take away the water, the moisture, the nutrients, and the light from what we're trying to grow. So weeds, not so good. Now, we would say that leadership hopefully is good. So you could say, well, what are the connections here, Kevin, between weeds and leadership? I have 4 for you. The first one is persistence. Yeah, weeds are persistent. Ever tried to not, first of all, depending on what kind of weed it is, it could be very hard to pull it all the way out and get it out so it doesn't come back. And if you don't get all of it, it is coming back. And even if you pull out those, more are coming back. They're not going to give up. And if we give up, the weeds will win. Well, as leaders, we should be persistent in our efforts, in our belief in our team members, and 100 other things. So we could certainly make the connection between the persistence and the lessons of the persistence of a weed and being more persistent as a leader. Second, determination. Have you ever noticed that weeds can grow everywhere and anywhere? I got them growing apparently almost out of the concrete in my driveway. Like they can grow anywhere. They're determined to keep growing. Their job is to grow, and so they grow. How determined are you as a leader? If we were to be as determined as the weed, we'd probably be more successful. Third, weeds play to their strengths. Now again, because I've spent a lot of time in my life thinking about weeds and pulling weeds, I know something about this. Here it is. Some weeds are very invasive, and they play to their strengths by choking everything else out around them. Some of them are extremely fast growing, and so they may grow really tall, really fast, as to shade out all of their competition, which is what you want. Some are early season weeds. Dandelions among the first things to grow in the spring, so they can get their work done early. And some weeds are late season weeds. They come on late, and maybe when we're tired of weeding, they come on. So here's the thing. Weeds play to their strengths. They don't try to become something that they're not. If they're an early season weed, they grow early in the season. They, sometimes depending on the weather, will try it again in the fall when the weather's right. But weeds play to their strengths, and we as leaders should play to our strengths as well. If we try to become something that we're not, now I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to learn and grow as a leader, but I am saying if we try to be another person, we try to act like a different leader that isn't us, that's not necessarily going to help us. Learn from, yes. Copy, not so much, right? Weeds play to their strengths, and so should leaders. And lastly, context matters. Now, maybe you've never thought about this, but I've had this conversation with many people. Is that a weed or not? Well, it all depends on where it's growing. See, farmers spend a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money to plant corn. But if that same corn plant is growing in their soybean field, it's now a weed. It's not wanted in that place, right? Corn in the bean field, a weed. Some people eat dandelion greens, but for many others, a dandelion is a weed. See, context matters a lot. So how we define the plant depends on what defines whether it's a weed or not. So how are we defining our team members? How are we defining the situation? Are we defining it in a way that aids us in being successful? Or are we defining it in a way to say, oh, that's a weed, that's a problem, that person's never going to be successful, let's move on. So we've got to be thinking about context always as leaders. There's not a single right answer. There's often multiples. There's always situations we need to think about. Context matters for us as leaders, now doesn't it? So I've got 4 lessons. There's probably others that I could share with you, but I'm going to repeat one of them and make a point about it in today's tweet. The next time you pull a weed, remember to decide you want to be as persistent as the weed. Did you know that 4 days a week, I send a daily email to thousands of people, and that could include you. Each day, a lesson and insight, something that I've learned, something that I've done. Sometimes it's something fun, but it's always meant to be inspirational, instructive, and helpful for you. If you'd like to get that daily, short, less than 300-word email, Tuesday through Friday, you can sign up right here. And speaking of signing up, every week we're right here, so make sure you come back for another episode of Remarkable TV.